Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I'm pretty excited about today. I woke up and I'm like, yes, I get to talk to Laura. I'm going to tell you something. I've never met an originator more dialed in on her business, more dialed in on the process. And this week we've been talking about with all of our AEs and originators with the theme of details, being in the details and why details matter. And I really feel like Laura just fits totally perfect right into that. So without any delay, I want to bring in Laura. There she is. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. Now, for everybody that's on here, Laura, you live in about an hour from LA, right?
Yep, Southern California.
And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I will be married 17 years this weekend. I married my high school sweetheart, so we've been together for 25 years. We've got three amazing children. I'm 39, been in this industry since I was 17, so over 20 years now. I'm a core coach. I run my own brokerage, and I did in the last 12 months, which I think is more quantifiable, about 90 million in production.
That's awesome. And how old are your kids?
Thank you. I've got a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old, and an 11-year-old.
So you're busy but not overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the one thing that really surprised you about this market that you didn't see?
So I got to preface this where I have a couple of degrees in economics, so I understood what was happening in this market. It wasn't surprising the theoretical of it in terms of, I knew we were pretty much buying all of our demand. Those interest rates were so doggone low that every owner out there was going to refinance, which if they're going to refinance into the 2% range, then they're going to have a harder time to sell. And we all knew that, yes, interest rates were being bought low, that they were going to have to come up eventually. So I knew we were going to have an inventory problem, but all theoretical, all on paper, but living in the weeds of it, I don't think I was as prepared for being more of a therapist to a lot of my referral partners, to a lot of my students than anything else.
I've noticed a lot of realtors, we rolled through this, it changed, but it's like they didn't want to change.
No, I don't think they understood how to change or what was needed to change either.
Yeah. And so now, fast forwarding, I know that just kind of walking through your story. Of course, I know your story, but everybody maybe listening doesn't know your story. Is that there came a point in time where you just wanted to make this mortgage experience for your customer, for your realtor relationships better, more dialed. And that was quite a journey. Walk us through that. Yeah. Walk us through that little journey that you went through, and then maybe we can get into some of the nuts and bolts of that journey.
Yeah, so a couple of things, especially in the broker world. We've got our loan origination system, we've got our point of sale, we've got this software, we got that software. I wanted to have a hub where almost all software is connected to that I could get to. Some of them can't, right? And I also wanted my main focus to be my client experience. But I have two clients, the actual client, the borrower, and the referral partner. So I needed to really dial in and say, what technologies, what can I do a little bit more efficiently, not only with myself, with the software, the technologies that I have, and with my team to make that client experience stand out.
Yeah.
So I started with Jungo as my CRM. That wasn't my hub. At first I tried a couple of different CRMs at one time. This was about 5 years ago. I did Be in Touch. I did Jungo, and I think the other one was Whiteboard or something like that, just to get a feel. You don't know what you don't know. And so I was running all three. I knew for specifically what I was doing. I was running all three, spending the money on all three, just trying to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And at that point, I had Google be my hub. I was doing Google Sheets, and I had this and then that. That didn't work out. And so I switched it over to Jungo. And then eventually I took the Jungo layer off and I have a fully built out sales force.
So you're like testing all of this. Is the one part of the story where when I first heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, is she crazy, or is she just like you actually test drove them all, which I don't have the patience for, but you test drove all of these different CRMs because you knew that this CRM, which I think most brokers don't take that CRM as their hub. They take the LOS as their hub. Do I have that right?
So at this time, it was again a theoretical idea of I need a hub. I had really no working knowledge of what a CRM was before. In fact, if you go on some of these CRM websites, their marketing, their branding is so pretty. I'm like, oh, it must be so important. And so I played around with it. I loved Surefire. Surefire, from just a know nothing standpoint, was my favorite. But I ended up going to a Salesforce conference in San Jose, spent 2 days up there, knew nothing about CRMs, nothing about this side of the world, but I believe in immersing yourself. When you get to learn, you got to touch it, taste it, feel it. Mm-hmm. So I went to a Salesforce conference. I spoke to developers. I spoke to other business owners to define what a CRM meant, actually. Mm-hmm. And so when I came back, then it was like, okay, there is something behind this. There's something to this. And so it's evolved over the years. So specifically around an LOS. An LOS is for compliance and loan structuring. It has nothing to do with your client experience. It has nothing to do with sales. It has nothing to do with building rapport, to time management, to structuring a business. It has nothing to do with 95% of your business. So no, I don't have my LOS open ever unless I have to get in and structure a file. I just have my CRM open pretty much 24/7.
So we're going to go through, some of these nuts and bolts, and hopefully I can ask the right questions. But if I don't, and you please feel free to be able to ask those questions. I know later who's going to be watching this recording. If you have questions, we'll make sure that we get the answer, and then from Laura or team, and then be able to direct it to you. So like now you're starting to understand, in a sense, the setup of what you're wanting. What was one or two things along this journey which was so surprising to you that you're like, I never thought about it like that, or I never seen that coming? If I'm a broker owner like you, and I'm like in this journey right now, what was one or two things that you saw? You're like, what? I never even saw that coming.
All of it. So let me do 30,000 foot view. So when you're a loan officer, you're a lot of the time just flying by the seat of the pants. Yes, some individuals are a little bit more structured. Some maybe have Excel. Some maybe use their CRM a little bit. But with the CRM, you could build out automations like follow-up emails and text messages. I'm a firm believer in the DISC profile. It really helps me communicate to different clients. Well, I built out different automations based on that person's DISC and figured out a quick way of being able to figure, the type of DISC that they are. That to the amount of reports that you have in an instance can help you pivot your business on a dime, which is so freaking impactful. It's not even funny. Down to, I have a team, down to tracking their activity, and me being in the core, I'm held to a certain standard. We have a greatness tracker. Well, my team has matrices that are very much like their own greatness trackers. Down to, and one of the bigger things that I've built out is now I quantify my agents. So if you go into my CRM, and I can share my screen if you want, if you go into my CRM, you can see comparatively to my biggest agent, who I convert at a 95.4%, by the way, is his conversion ratio. Insane. You could see the average conversion. I could be in, let's say, one agent's folder and saying, look, I've gotten 70 leads from you in the last 12 months, and we've only funded 2. We've only qualified 10. Here's your conversion. Here's the average conversion. Here's my best conversion. Let's figure out what we need to do to get you converting higher. Let's start with how you're selling me. So it gives me an eye light into the agents. So, and then the second huge point that I didn't know is when an agent comes to you with their handout, which they all are doing right now, the business is hard. Now I quantify them. Now I know how much each lead is worth to me based on the agent. I know how much pre-qualified client is worth, and I know what a funded client is worth. Mm-hmm. So I can literally see my top agents that sometimes like to throw stuff at a moving target to see if it sticks. Those top agents, they convert at the highest. The loyalty, the rapport building with the clients are the highest. Where my little baby agents that always have their hand out thinking that they're amazing, which some of them are, the proof is not in the pudding. The numbers aren't there.
Right.
It's a powerful thing.
Now, look, I know Laura's talking to us like a college professor, and all of us are in fifth grade. That was the year I got in the most trouble, Laura, in grade school was fifth grade. But I may or may not have had to attend a few schools along the way. And my parents said to me, Chris, there's not a book on how to raise you. We're out of ideas. So either straighten up or you're going to military school. And I go, that doesn't sound fun. But so let's break this down a little bit. I want you to remember what she said. She's created, in a sense, this CRM to be able to understand the stats, to be into the details, not only in her own team and setting up clear direction, which, by the way, Laura, wouldn't you agree that many LOs fail in being a great leader to their team and giving clear instructions of what that position takes to be successful?
Yes.
But then also your realtors, like, the stats. You're not selling me right. Like, how many times does a loan officer actually have the guts to call the realtor and go, here's your stats, something's off, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe you're not referring me correctly, selling me correctly. Can I help? What do they say when you say that? Because I think LOs are like, oh my gosh, Laura, you're too tough for me. I couldn't say it. And I'm like, yes, you can. You can do this. And how do you do it?
Yep. Yeah, no, I really just like that. I let any agent know when they come on board. My selling point is I follow up because my CRM tells me what to do. That's built in. I have a whole process for the client experience. It's built into the CRM. It's fantastic. So it's a selling point. But I also let them know it helps me keep them accountable and it helps build our relationship. And I do set the expectation that every single quarter, some of them monthly, we're going to sit down to lunch together. And I have a report that I print out truly that shows their lead to pre-qualification, meaning verbally, I'm taking a 1003, I'm running credit, and it looks good. They're not fully pre-qualified or pre-approved. So lead to pre-qualified and then pre-qualified to funded. I show them this paperwork because it shows me if I can't get a lead to pre-qualified, garbage leads. If I can't get pre-qualified to funded, either there's something wrong with our communication, me and the agent, there's something wrong with my process, or something going on with the client. So they don't take it wrong. I'm truly just trying to build their business. And I don't go to them aggressively like, you suck, this is horrible. It's, no, here's some best practices. And you have to get, just like we talked about the disc, I have quite a few agents that are high I personalities and they're chaos sometimes. There's no system. That's some of the magic that they have sometimes. But the way they refer me is not consistent. And therefore, someone who is very consistent to someone who's not, that's where I see that we butt heads the most in terms of our conversions. And so those are the agents that I really focus on, working to build a process that is unique to both of our communication styles. There is nothing hard about this. There's nothing where I'm being a jerk about this. This is truly the black and white of it. We're building a business together. You are a real estate agent. You have a business. I'm a loan officer. I have a business. Let's work on it together. So you come from love.
Yeah. Oh, no. I get it. You're not coming with a hammer.
No, I mean, it's a little bit of stick behind it. I mean, there's carrot and some sticks, people. So you got to have the stick just a little. But I'm a sweet stick, a little sugar on the end.
What? Like, I don't know if everybody follows this, but one of the things that I know Laura does it too is that I want to understand my employees' disc. And then I personally try to figure out what my customers' disc is. And that's a personality. You guys can get it all. Manisha is probably one of the best ones. And I can get you the link to sign up with it because he does a really good job of giving you the a story behind this disc and how it relates. And then you just continue to learn. Like, I'm a sponge in that. I know you are too. But how do you tailor, let's say, a dominating D personality and maybe a mid-I personality? So we got pretty well aggressive personality. How would you tie that differently into your CRM versus an S and C? an analytical type of personality, how would it look different just for a small little 30,000 foot view for everybody listening?
Yeah, so 67% of the population, I believe the statistic is, are S's. And so that is that's a normal text message, that's a normal email.
Okay.
Whereas a C, they're going to ask a lot of questions. So let's say an email went out that the appraisal went out. The appraisal went out. Here's what's going to be on the appraisal. So it'll say page 1 is this, page 2 is this, page 3 is this. Look on X page at the bottom to see your value. Comparables, your main comparables will be on this page. So you give some of those explanation up front, and the video tied to that email gives explanation up front as well. So I'm just preemptively thinking through some of their questions. A high D, there's no pleasantries in the email. It's, hey, Mr. Smith, appraisal's attached. Call me if you have any questions, and it's done. It's quick and it's get out of there. Now, I have been adding subsets, D, I, S, C, and I'm tailoring those a little bit, but I'm finding that they don't matter, that I'm pretty much sticking to S unless I have an extreme I, D, or C. It's kind of fun, actually. It's fun for my team to figure out the communication style of the personality. So a high I is the one that tells a story. That is so excited, super emotional. D is very quick, just get it done. And C will ask you question after question after question. And then everybody else is in the S category as far as this is concerned.
Yeah, it's like the D and I wants to win. So like when the appraisal value comes in a little bit higher, you're like, you killed it. Amazing job. Appraisal came in,
yes.
Sales price. And that C wants to know why. How'd this come about?
Why?
Right? So when she's walking you through this is just like client experience 101 that you can use to be able to create a better experience. Look, this has got to get you more referrals this way.
Yeah, I think it really does. It's easy for my team too, because it's on my CRM, we have like an actual star that lights up with what their disc is. And so right underneath it, even though my team is all trained in disc, it tells them right underneath it the communication style. And it lists off, expectations of timing on the phone. So it helps them like, okay, this person's a high C. We're about to go over an appraisal. I know I'm going to spend 20 minutes on the phone with them. Let me just make sure I move my day around this type of thing. So it helps the clients, it helps the agents, and it helps the team from top to bottom.
Cool. So 2 things I want to cover before we let you go. Number 1 is how do you use the CRM to set the metrics and the job duties for your team?
Yeah, so I have dashboards. And so I divided my team up in 2 sections. I have front of the house, which is lead to in contract. And then the back of the house is in contract to closing. So my lead to in contract, I want each person at 50 leads a month. And I want, of those 50 leads, I want 50 to 60% of them. I put the marker at 50%. They get kudos at 60% to be pre-qualified. Again, pre-qualified is a 1003, is a credit application, and verbally, we haven't gone through the documentation yet, but verbally, they sound fantastic. So that's a huge number for my front of the house. And then one for my back of the house, my processors, I count underwriter touches. So if I'm submitting a file, I'm telling my agents that I will do a 8-day appraisal contingency and a 7-day close of escrow if they choose to want to use it. Well, I have to have a very, very clean file. So it's initial underwrite, 1 underwriter conditional approval, and then we're at CTC. There's not allowed to be any more underwriter touches. And so when I first started tracking that, our average underwriter touch, and at this time, I'm not closing 20 loans a month right now, but at this time we were closing, we had probably 4.5 or so underwriter touches at this point. And so it was working to get that down. Like, what are we missing? So we saved every conditional approval to see what else could we capture up front. We created a checklist, a handoff between the front of the house, me pre-approving them to the processor, going through the story of the client, which was actually one of the biggest things. It wasn't just an operational process. They had to know the story of the client, which they heard the nuances in it, and that got it down. So huge little matrices like that.
I'm just sitting here thinking you're superwoman. Like, that is amazing. You realize 3 resubmits is an A+, and you're mad at 4. So,
Yeah.
but really, I mean, when you think about it, and what's going through my brain is that less touches is less time involvement in your staff, which then gets to the next deal, which is more proactive.
Better client experience as well, because we're handling the emotion up front. We know how to talk to them and set the expectation up front. So again, it's all about the client experience.
Yeah, so let's talk client experience.
Yep.
You know, just maybe I'll just mock up a scenario and you can kind of walk us through how you're in a sense utilizing it. And I think everyone's going to ask, so we'll just cover that quickly. You're using Salesforce. You're using an LOS, that is
it's Arrive.
and you're using, I'm sure, Phone Burner.
No, I got rid of Phone Burner.
Okay, so no Phone Burner.
Nope.
Is there any other software that you're using that's integrated into this little system?
Oh, yeah, there's probably 20 different softwares that are integrated into the system.
Okay, to be able to make this thing.
Yeah.
But the bulk of it, just for the kindergarten level.
Yeah, so the bulk of it. So I was with Lending Pad. I switched over to Arrive. Arrive, I do not like the integration with Salesforce whatsoever with Arrive. So I'm switching back to Lending Pad because it's a one-to-one integration, meaning if the client fills out the credit application, it automatically pushes over birth date, home address. It'll automatically push over rate, those types of things. So that is a huge integration. I have SurveyMonkey because I think it's important to take a survey of the client when they get pre-approved and also when we get clear to close. And then I have, I used to have something called Podium, which gets reviews for you built out. Now I have that built into the CRM where it does it on its own. Good Lord, there's quite a few. I had Phone Burner built out. The thing about Phone Burner is $150 a month to dial for me. So it wasn't necessary. I had it for 3 years and I can do the same type of list within my CRM. So that saved me money right there. I have Mortgage Coach built in. That's a huge one. And there's quite a few other little itty bitty baby apps that I have built in. Like I've got one that transcribes conversations so I can look for keywords to make sure my team is selling us correctly. Little things like that help productivity and just making sure we have a good client experience.
Cool. Well, I think you've really given kind of a baseline. If I am not ready to build out my Salesforce, I'm an LO. I'm a broker owner. I got 10, 15 LOs working for me. So, you know, I'm not a little baby shop, but I'm not a big shop. What would you tell me to do as the consultant? Where would you tell me to start?
So it just depends. This is a huge undertaking. So there's either time or money involved. When I started this, as you heard at the beginning, I've got 3 children and I run a full team and I do quite a bit of business. And so this was after hours for me. This was 10 o'clock at night, listening to the most boring videos on how to build a CRM. And because it was a foreign language to me, I didn't just listen once. I had to listen to some of the blasted things 2 or 3 times, which was atrocious, and sit there and take notes when I'm exhausted. I did 2 years of that until I was producing enough where I had 2 developers on staff. I meet with them every single day at 8:30 in the morning to this day, continuing to build. So you either, if you're serious about it, because it can double your business, it can be your entire hub. If you're serious about it, you're going to devote money to it, or you're going to devote time to it, or a hybrid of both. But step 1, you can't just hand things off and be like, here, developer, build it for me. No, you have to be in the weeds of it because they don't know the mortgage industry. They don't know how you run business. They don't know your client experience. So no matter how you spin it, to this day, it is an hour a day for me that I'm consistently tweaking and honing in my CRM, my agent experience, my client experience, my team productivity. It's the hub of my business. So I think 30,000 foot view, there's dollar signs all over it. It gives you time back. It gives so much intangibles back, but you have to devote yourself a little bit to learning it and being in it. It can't just be delegated.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. So just to kind of give this little feel, I'm a realtor. I've referred you a customer, and now what happens?
So every referral starts group text to my cell phone. It doesn't automatically go to my CRM. With that group text, I am the first touch, and I send a text back saying, here I am, blankety blank. Let me know if you have time to talk. In the meantime, I'm also going to text you from my office line so you have both of my numbers. I am immediately screenshotting that if I'm not available. I send it to my team, or I put it in Salesforce myself, one or the other, and that starts the initial contact. Initial contact happens where it sends a text automatically saying, hey, it's Lara Locke. I just texted you from my cell phone. Here's both my numbers. And here is my essentially VCF card. So like a business card. And it opens up Instagram, LinkedIn. It has my email. It has Google reviews. It has all the things on it. From there, there's a call that happens. It triggers a call. The next day, an email goes to my team member and myself that says call number 2. And also it triggers a text message and an email. So for 7 days, we do initial contact for 7 days straight. There's 16 touch points with call, text, or email. Again, the CRM tells us what to do. At the 8th day, it emails the agent and says, we've called X number of times. Here are the X number text messages that went out and the X number of emails that went out. We still have not been able to get a hold of your client. Please let me know next steps. And it moves it from a stage initial contact attempted into unresponsive to initial contact. So that's one. Or if we get a hold of them and we request their documentation, it's a series of follow-ups that really tells us what to do. We follow up on docs every 2 days.
How are you collecting their info? Are you using an app for that, or are you just getting it?
So in terms of like digitally, am I using an app to collect their info?
Portal, a reminder system is Salesforce.
Yeah. So every digital LOS anymore, like LendingPad and Arrive, have a point of sale integrated in. So it's super simple. It takes literally 30 seconds to do.
So now that the app is taken, and you have approved the client, what happens?
Well, they go into pre-qualified outlooking. The pre-qualified outlooking stage, they get a newsletter every single week that has a video for me, this, that, and the other. I reach out every 2 weeks. My team reaches out every 2 weeks. And every single Thursday, a text goes out to this group saying, if you're looking at properties this weekend, let us know. We're on standby to send you scenarios.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Every Thursday you do that. And every Wednesday they get a newsletter? Mm-hmm. Do you highlight people on your team in the newsletter or do anything kind of fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do kind of some fun stuff and then some.
Yeah, we highlight places in the community, not just specific to my area, but maybe, Southern California, you drive a little bit. So about a 50-mile radius. I talk about, again, my background's in economics. So I talk a little bit about what the positive sides of the market. I don't get too much of the sky is falling in there. So we try to educate. We are always available to them. And I do everything out of my scenarios are in Mortgage Coach. So when I pre-qualify a client, the team says, hey, Lara, XYZ person is pre-qualified. I record my screen going over Mortgage Coach. I record it via Loom. So my Loom recording, I put in Salesforce. I send that recording to them along with their Mortgage Coach. And so they have a video recording of me going over scenarios, the whole mortgage process. I pick up the phone, I answer their questions, and I let them know that Mortgage Coach is a live link. So when they're out looking every Thursday, they're going to get an automated text messages from us. And when they're out looking, doesn't matter when, to text the office line and any team member will see it who was ever available, can adjust that live link to whatever property they're looking at that moment. So they always have someone that will help them at any time.
So now I found the house, I've made the offer, I'm calling back and like, hey, I got it.
Yep.
Now what?
Well, now is the fun part. So I do a meeting with them, an in-contract meeting with them because rates are so volatile. I do share the mortgage-backed security market with them right on my screen, and I give them 3 options around rate.
Do you have like a lock
I give them a rate. It's a lock appointment. Yep. So we go over that. We go over next steps, and then what most people know, the automations to be, loan registered. Here's what to expect. The email that goes out. So all of those normal stages go out to the client with the buyer's agent CC'd. We have a separate one for the listing agent CC'd, and then also when it goes in, we put escrow, title, all of that in. We put our 2 insurance persons, they're already in, so it automatically sends out emails for CPLs, for titles, for insurance quotes. But one huge thing that we've done is I do Tuesday updates. So we're big on no surprises. We want the client to know the cash to close and the payment to the penny every single week. And so the LOS communicates with the CRM. And then on Tuesday, there's a little section in my CRM for Tuesday updates where it's a templated email that says, again, here's your payment, here's your cash to close. My processor will call, go over any conditions, or I'll call, we'll make notes, and that email automatically sends out every single Tuesday. So they get a call and they see it visually, their cash to close, any conditions that are needed, as well as that payment without fail with the buyer's agent CC'd every single week.
Wow. I just picked up 2 or 3 things that I didn't think about, and I love it. Like, guys, did you hear that? It's like the payment every Tuesday and the cash to close every Tuesday, because those are the 2 most important things. I always thought most important thing to a customer, put it on top of the file, make sure that we know, you can tell I'm old school, on the file, and then we remind the customer of that most important thing. But you're like, no. Every single customer gets payment and down payment every single Tuesday, plus anything else remaining. How are you handling the buyers and the sellers agents for the updates, or is the team?
No, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing that through pre-call stage as well, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I handle every single agent, because remember, the way I look at it, you have 2 clients. Like I said, you've got that buyer and you've got that referral partner, and you have to have a specialist handling both. I come in at the main points because I do a little bit more production. So I come in main points with the buyer. I do that pre-qualification meeting, and I do that lock meeting. And of course, I do a post-close meeting as well. So those are my 3 touch points with the buyer. But my main focus is to lead generate. That is my number 1 job description, is lead generating. So I have to do my Tuesday updates consistently with my agents, and I do those a little bit different as well. I record a video that goes through, hey, here's the appraisal contingency, here's the loan contingency, and we're on time for close of escrow. I hit those 3 things every single Tuesday. So they get a phone call from me, and they get a little branded video that I text to the buyer's agent and the listing agent on one text message on Tuesdays as well. So they get it visual as well as phone call.
Are you using BombBomb, or what are you using for your videos today?
Yeah, you just record with your phone. I have a template set up in Canva. I throw that video in there and download it and send it off.
Simple.
Yeah, the recording of the videos, my processor will come in. She'll have a list of exactly where we are. We manage to the dates. So she tells me anything I need to know about the dates. And if there's any fires, I know ahead of time. So I get through the videos. 20 loans takes me about 10 minutes to do those videos. They just get imported into Canva and broken out. All in all, I would say Tuesday updates for 20 loans takes about 2.5 hours to do, to touch every agent appropriately and build rapport appropriately.
Got it. Okay, now I'm closing. It's closing day or CD day. Make sure I don't miss an important step. We go CD, closing day, and then, now they're post-closing, because I'm excited to hear what the post-closing piece is. Are you doing anything special, through that system, or your team doing anything special that really has moved the needle for you throughout those next milestones?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely little gifts that go along. Like when we do a lead intake, we send a card that says, we'll go the extra mile for you, and it has an extra piece of gum. When they get pre-approved, there's something, a little, candy that goes out. So from pre-approval to in contract to conditional approval to clear to close, and of course, post-close, there's little touches that the CRM helps automate. And then post close, there's a 30, 60, 90-day check-in that I do. 30-day is the homeowner's exemption. A little video goes around it, an email on how to fill it out. 60-day is HomeBot. I go over HomeBot. And then my 90-day, I use a software called House Happy. And that goes over, it's a 300 touch point inspection that the client, and I got it myself, the client has an app, and it essentially says, hey, you know what? Here is the filters for your home. It tells you when to change them, and it sends you the Amazon link when to change them. It measures every single window, gets a VIN number of every single appliance in there. So if you ever want to do anything on your home, you have instruction manuals, you've got measurements, you've got everything. So I helped you get into the biggest investment of your life. I'm going to help you maintain it as well.
Love
and
that.
the
How much
other
is that?
huge thing, a House Happy, it's about $2,000 per year.
I mean, it's got,
or at least it was when I signed up.
it's a no-brainer.
No brainer. Yeah.
Okay, what were you going to say? Sorry, I interrupted you.
The last huge thing, of course, home anniversaries and birthdays. The CRM tells me I have a whole birthday program, but it emails my agent 10 days before a joint client's birthday, and it reminds them that it was our client's birthday. And then as far as home anniversaries, a month before it's their home anniversary, I do a almost like a check-in. I do almost like a check-in. So it tells me a list of every anniversary that comes up, and I send the client like an intake form to fill out or a QR code. I have a team member call to say, hey, Lara's going to be reviewing everything with you. We don't just review your mortgage. We'll look at if you need a trust attorney. We'll look at if you need a financial advisor. We do a couple of different things like that. And that's my opportunity to have another conversation with the client at their home anniversary.
Yeah, I just love your plan. I picked up like 4 things that I'm going to go back and say, okay, we got to make some tweaks. This is so cool. I'm just like, literally, this is one of my favorite Coaching with Chris talks ever, just because of all of it. Now, I know many of you are drinking from a fire hose and you're like,
yeah, sorry.
And in 40 minutes.
I can talk about that. I can set realistic expectations on that.
Yeah. Okay.
So go ahead, Chris.
Nope. I want you to talk.
5 years ago, I got into the core and I went to my first summit. It's a 3-day conference, and you're with some major players there. And I was just a fly on the wall. I was closing 3 to 5 deals a month. I thought I was a big producer at that time. And I've got my little notebook, and I got teased still to this day. A couple of them still remember that I have my little notebook with me. And I just remember like writing everything down, and it was this thick notebook. Half of it was filled. It was a fire hose. And so I got back and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But I learned very quickly that you go through and you figure out what's important. The client experience was the most important to me, not increasing my profitability at first, not decreasing my expenses at first. It was the client experience. So I went through and I truly picked 3 things that were around the client experience, and I looked at absolutely nothing else until I did those 3 things. So we always get these ideas or hear these great things, and we have this and we have that. Sure, write them down, get them on a rolling list, but don't touch anything else until you mastered one thing. I coach so many different loan officers out there, and I call it completing the loop. Everybody gets to 25%, 33%. They don't finish the circle of the idea that they were working on. So it's never truly implemented properly. And so, yeah, you know about it. You've heard about it. You've done a little bit with it, but you haven't executed on it. So if you do that, you will never move the needle. You will never get 1% better. Our job is to do loans, but we're business people. So we have to set apart part of our week, in time block part of our week, where we're working on executing and implementing. For me, Fridays, there's 4 hours blocked in my week where that's what I work on. I work on those rolling ideas. I work on bigger picture things. I work on figuring out what my next week looks like. So you got to take those small bites and zone everything out, super laser focused to really move the needle. Go slow to go fast is what I like to say.
I love that. Or John Wooden, he always says, don't be quick, but don't hurry. And
yep.
It's like reminds me of sometimes I just want to rush through something and then it never works out the way I want.
Right. And I've got no patience, and I'm sure you don't have any patience. And so, yeah, it just, you got to work with yourself on that.
Look, guys, I hope you enjoyed this talk. Thank you so much, Laura. And if you think she's as amazing as I do, make sure you put the comments down below. I think she's a rock star. She's truly changed. How she just totally fought through, was fierce to be able to change client experience. If you're not on that, you're going to be left out in this future. Our business is changing right in front of us. And I think some people got blinders on and some people have big eyeballs and they're looking further down the road. And Laura is already beat us all. She's looking down the road. She looked down the road sooner, quicker than all of us. And you've got to make a few changes. So thank you for your time. I know everybody is going to love this talk. Thanks, Laura.
Absolutely. Bye.
Yeah.